Have you ever wondered why some apps just feel natural and intuitive, and then some make you want to throw your phone out the window? It boils down to a powerful principle called Hick's law. And I've helped out a lot of startups over the years. And a lot of them have design similarities that converge with this law. Essentially, mastering this psychological trick helps you help your users understand your product better. So it all started in 1868. There was a man named Franciscus Donders, this guy, and he reported a relationship between stimuli and choice reaction times. Essentially, the more options someone had, how much time they took to choose. And the eventual discovery was that the more options someone has, the more time they take, as one might naturally presume. And that eventually became Hick's law, or the Hick-Hyman law. And this became a psychological principle in sound proof, that the more choices someone is exposed to, the more time they will take to make a decision. There is a small caveat, though. The increase in choice time was not linear, more so logarithmic, which suggested that if you give someone one choice versus three, they might take a lot of time. But if you give someone 100 choices versus 110, the increase in time may not be as proportionate. But nevertheless, more choices equals more time. This is still true. And we kind of see this just naturally as well, right? If you're in a restaurant and you have a 50-page menu, good luck trying to make a quick decision, right? Versus a menu where there's only 2 or 3 options, right? There, like we have burgers and hot dogs. That's it. Very quick choice. But maybe what might be useful is some more tech-focused example. A great example is Apple's iOS settings versus Samsung's Android settings. Apple intentionally limits how many choices you immediately have, and only lets you have the essential controls at first glance. Samsung, meanwhile, prioritizes giving you a lot of options, kind of showing you right from the get-go that you have a lot of customizations to offer, and you can feel free to personalize your Android experience as you see fit. However, it's important to note that the average person does not want a lot of personalization. I've definitely, owned an Android in the past. I have Apple technology now, but I've personalized my Android experience to the point that I've even hard coded a few settings in. So connecting it to my computer, which is not possible with Apple, right? But I know I am a niche. The average person does not want to personalize writing their own code for Android. They just want to get their tasks done faster. Can I pay my bills faster? Can I turn the Wi-Fi on off really quickly? Can I see how much internet data I'm using? They don't want to go super deep into the personalization aspect, in most cases. And that's why you see, with Apple being a $1 trillion company now, a lot of people that start using Apple technology, it makes it harder for them to leave that ecosystem, right? Things become simpler, intuitive, and that becomes the way they become used to. So it's sort of like Hick's law in action. But this leads me to an important point. Does a simpler menu or UI or UX experience equal less choice? Absolutely not. It just means you are delayering the onion, one layer at a time, right? So you might see 3 or 4 things at the start, but then if you click into it or go into it, you might see more options as needed. So it just means you're not overwhelming the user very quickly from the get-go. You're sort of grabbing their hand and holding them and sort of guiding them through the interaction. Apple does this really well. Always a simple menu, simple options, and then as you go into options, you can always have more options underneath, but they're never exposed from the get-go. It's all kind of like storytelling, where you build suspense and engagement over time instead of just telling everything from the get-go. Slack is, I think, another great example in today's day and age. Like, the intuitive menu looks very relaxed, because as you hover over buttons or you find quick access shortcuts, you quickly realize it's a very, very powerful app. Notion is another example where it's a very minimalist experience, but then you can quickly organize folders and go deeper into folders, go deeper into files, their sub-files and sort of sub-pages, and a lot of information. And it can all come down to just one line, right? In a Notion workspace, right? It could be just one line. So very interesting, right? And this leads to 3 things, right? Less cognitive load on the user, so they don't need to think as much. There's faster decisions because they're not thinking as much, and people are usually happy when they have to think less and things are faster. So if you're a founder, if you're a product manager, even if you're a designer, maybe you always think to yourself, how can I simplify this? Is there a way to simplify this? Prioritize your non-negotiable actions, right? Like, what are the one or two things that a customer absolutely critically needs here? And then what are things I can get rid of? Remember, complexity is not impressive to anyone, right? Like anybody can give you 100 different options. The goal is really behind how can you simplify it and show me the one thing that I really need to do, right? The one or two things maybe. That's impressive. You've simplified it to tailor a better user experience. Steve Jobs is on record saying that simple can be harder than complex, but once you start thinking with your mind in a simpler way, it's worth it in the end because then you can move mountains. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Feel free to let me know how I can do better in the comments, and see you in the next one. Ciao.